Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Today, we have the great honor and privilege of having Lindsay Wagner with us. Lindsay is 41 years old and is a full-time working single mom of 2 teenagers. She was diagnosed with stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer with the ALK-positive mutation in 2022. And she just celebrated her 1-year cancerversary on March 18th. She has a large network of friends and family who have helped her through this journey, and she continues to advocate for the lung cancer community and wants to erase the current stigma around lung cancer. So Lindsay, thank you so much for your time and your willingness to be here with us. We're really excited to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Like she said, I'm Lindsay. I live in Dallas, Georgia, 2 teenagers who I love so much. And I'm very excited to be involved in this. So thank you.
Awesome. And so to introduce myself and my team, my name is Priyanka Senthil, and with me I have Greg Long, and we're part of the American Lung Cancer Screening Initiative, or ALCSI for short. And we would like to take a few minutes to share about our organization and also introduce lung cancer screening. ALCSI is a 501c3 nonprofit that works to raise awareness about lung cancer screening, and we're a team of about 200 students and doctors located across the United States. And we do the work that we do because lung cancer is the deadliest cancer in the world, causing more deaths than breast, prostate, and colon cancers combined. And lung cancer causes about 380 deaths per day in the US alone. Lung cancer is very fatal because currently many patients are being diagnosed at a late stage when the cancer has grown and spread to other parts of the body. But lung cancer screening is an effective imaging technique that can be used to screen for lung cancer and has been shown to catch lung cancers early. However, less than 6% of people at high risk for lung cancer are currently getting screened in the US. And the screening rate for lung cancer is much lower than the screening rates for breast, cervical, and colon cancers, which are about 70%. And so we believe that educating people about lung cancer screening is one of the most important and effective ways to increase the lung cancer screening rate for populations that would benefit from lung cancer screening. And so far, we've given over 250 presentations on lung cancer screening to universities, hospitals, medical schools, and organizations around the US, as well as India, Canada, Brazil, and Mexico, reaching over 10,000 people. And over the last year, we worked with over 345 mayors from every single US state to issue proclamations recognizing November as National Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And we've also had the opportunity to work with several leaders at the state level, including multiple mayors, Arizona State Senator Leila Alston, who's a lung cancer survivor, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, and the Lieutenant Governor of Colorado, Diane Primavera, to issue public service announcements emphasizing the importance of lung cancer screening. And in addition to our education, outreach, and advocacy efforts, we recently started a podcast series to share the personal side of lung cancer and provide a platform for lung cancer survivors and advocates and doctors to share their stories and experiences around lung cancer. And ALCSI also actively worked with US Congress members and senators to draft and advocate for the first ever House and Senate resolutions, recognizing the importance of the early detection of lung cancer through screening. And in December 2022, the US Senate passed a bipartisan resolution for the 3rd year in a row, designating November 2022 as National Lung Cancer Awareness Month and expressing support for the early detection and treatment of lung cancer. And this Senate Resolution 863, expands on previous resolutions by emphasizing the need for efforts to increase awareness of screening among veterans, women, and racial minorities. And ALCSI also actively worked with Representative Brendan Boyle and Senator Tina Smith to draft and advocate for Catherine's Law for Lung Cancer Early Detection and Survival Act of 2021. And so lastly, we want to end by talking a little bit about lung cancer screening. Lung cancer screening is done using a low-dose computed tomography scan, and this scan uses low radiation doses, is pain-free, and takes less than 5 minutes to complete. And the United States Preventive Services Task Force, also known as the USPSTF, sets guidelines for who should be screened for lung cancer. And right now, they recommend that people between the ages of 50 and 80 who have a 20-pack-year smoking history or more, and who currently smoke or have quit within the past 15 years, get annual low-dose CT scans. 1 pack year is defined as smoking on average 1 pack a day for 1 year, and therefore 20 pack years can be met in a multitude of ways, including smoking 1 pack a day for 20 years, or smoking 2 packs a day for 10 years, for example. So if you know anyone who might be eligible for lung cancer screening based on the criteria we just discussed, please encourage them to take our lung cancer screening eligibility survey at www.alc.org so they can learn whether they are eligible and have the opportunity to connect with our team at ALCSI to guide them through the screening process. And finally, we want to highlight there are other risk factors for lung cancer in addition to smoking, such as exposure to asbestos, a family history of lung cancer, COPD, and previous radiation therapy to the lungs. And we believe that it is really important that we recognize these additional risk factors because a large number of people in the United States who have never smoked still get lung cancer. So thank you everyone for just giving us the opportunity to quickly introduce lung cancer and lung cancer screening. And without further ado, we'll jump right into the podcast. We have a couple of questions prepared for Lindsay, and we also have some questions that were submitted from the public beforehand. And so, Lindsay, could you just start off by telling us more about yourself and your lung cancer journey?
Sure. Hello. Okay, so yeah, a year ago, as you stated before, I had my cancerversary I just celebrated, which is a huge milestone considering, you know, they told me I had a couple of weeks to live, so this was amazing. How this actually all started was I had this pain in my side. I had it about 3 days or so, and I thought, you know, I went on Google and I thought that for sure it was something wrong with my gallbladder. So I went to the emergency room, fully expecting to have my gallbladder out that day. And turns out they took a CT scan and it showed that I actually had cancer on my liver. Well, in that abdominal scan, they actually saw that I also had nodules in my lungs. So then they looked even further and they were able to see that there was fluid in my lung. There were multiple nodules in my lung, as well as my bones. So the ER doctor came in that day and said, you know what, I think I'm gonna have to keep you. I said, how do you possibly know that it's cancer? And he said, it's absolutely all over your scan, so we're gonna keep you. And they went ahead and did a liver biopsy, and they came back and told me that it was lung cancer. Lung cancer, okay. And so then they did a brain scan shot that showed that it was on my brain, also in my bones from the PET scan. So it's been an interesting journey so far.
So what was the experience like when you first received your diagnosis? What were some of the thoughts that were racing through your mind?
So initially, when I heard my diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer, my initial thought was, I've never smoked a day in my life. How is this even possible? I don't understand. I haven't, you know, been around any radon gas or anything. So the doctor that was on call while I was in the emergency room said, we're going to have to do a biopsy, an actual biomarker test to find out, you know, exactly if it's a mutation or not. They were praying for a mutation simply because it's easier to treat than, you know, just regular lung cancer, because there are so many targeted therapies available to us, which was so scary at that time. But when I finally got that diagnosis back, that I came back ALK-positive, I was so thankful because of the amount of treatment that is available to us.
And so you talked a little bit about this, but could you share more about maybe some of the symptoms that you felt before receiving the diagnosis?
Yes, absolutely. So actually back in December of 2020, before COVID hit, I was constantly sick. I was having different bouts of pneumonia. I was having a constant cough. But of course, with stress of work and kids and all of the things, I thought, oh gosh, I just have I have a cough that just won't go away. Have had bronchitis or pneumonia or what have you. I even went to the doctor multiple times, and they actually had me do this test where you blow out the candles. There's a screen with candles on it, and there's a little blower, and you have to actually blow out the candles. And at that time, I was only breathing at 50% capacity. And even so, he was so baffled that he just dismissed it. So then so that was going on. Then I went to my regular, another doctor, and told them that I had this bump on my neck for quite some time, for several months. And she said, well, it's a lymph node. So you probably just have some sort of infection in your body. So that's what's happening. It's just a lymph node. And I had told her it had been there for quite a while. And then 2 or 3 months later, that's when I wound up in the emergency room.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it. It's very interesting because this type of story is something that we've heard several times from other lung cancer patients, that, lung cancer was never on their radar, never on their doctor's radar. And especially for individuals who might not have a smoking history, it definitely, can come like a diagnosis out of the blue. And you're just describing the lung function test, and it's very interesting to hear that even when the lung function test was around 50%, lung cancer was not the first thing that comes to mind. And I think and we have some questions about this later on, but I think it's this misconception that you needed to have a heavy smoking history to get lung cancer really contributes to just a lot of cases being diagnosed at late stages, and just sometimes symptoms that patients describe being are not being taken as seriously, or getting a CT scan that can really help to figure out whether it is lung cancer or not. So thank you for sharing it. It's just unfortunately a storyline that we've heard before from patients.
Exactly. And that's exactly what everyone in my community has been saying. If they don't catch our specific cancer until it's stage 4, because most of us are young and never smoking, and we just don't have all of this, all of the things that you would think about when you have stage 4, or with lung cancer. My grandfather had lung cancer, but he smoked 3 packs a day, way back when. So when I think of lung cancer, that's what I think of.
Like you talked about, it was quite a surprise to get the diagnosis. So, in which ways did your life change after being diagnosed with lung cancer?
So believe it or not, my outlook on life completely changed. I feel like I've been taking for granted everything that I have in my life, and I was a workaholic, sort of still am, trying to change that. But I was a workaholic, and you know what? I wake up every single morning just so grateful and thankful for my life, and for my children, and for my friends and my family, and just everything about life has changed for me. It's almost like a veil was taken up, and I can actually see the world in a different space now, because knowing that I could die in a month to 5 years to 10 years because of cancer has really changed my outlook on life for the better.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And you mentioned that the prognosis that you received initially was only a couple of weeks, and so I'm sure when you receive the diagnosis and the prognosis, there's a lot of uncertainty about what the future might look like, and so I'm sure there's a lot of fear that comes with that uncertainty. And so, how did you get through particularly difficult times throughout your diagnosis and treatment?
So I'm not gonna lie, I think I was in complete denial for a while, because here I am at 40, and I'm a single mom of 2 kids. This couldn't possibly be happening to me. And I I think I was in denial, but I was blissfully in denial. you know. But then I had about 2 weeks of a severe depression. But that also equates to kind of the medication that I'm on right now. I'm on my second targeted therapy, and that's one of the things that causes depression. So I was in a slow slump for a while, but now I've gotten over it, and I'm just happy to be alive, honestly.
Could you tell us more about the treatment options you had?
Yes. So um, when thankfully I was diagnosed with the ALK mutation, I was actually so grateful that I didn't have to jump right into chemotherapy or radiation. I was able to take a pill, targeted therapy. It was alectinib, and it worked when I first started taking it. It worked absolutely amazing. It worked for about 6 months or so, and now it stopped working. I had a small issue. Was in ICU for about 10 days. When it stopped working, it went insanely into my brain. So I had hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny lesions in my brain. Also developed leptomeningeal disease. So once these targeted therapies stop working, it's just it just consumes your body, and it was everywhere. Well, then I got out of ICU. I found another doctor, and she put me on lorlatinib. That is what has saved my life so far. Unfortunately, there's no other targeted therapy here in the U.S. That will help me after this. I'll have to go to chemotherapy. I did just do one round of radiation on a couple of lesions that broke through, but that's kind of the plan right now. Stay on lorlatinib and do radiation for any tumors that might develop in my brain. If this completely stops working until they have something that is in the US, I'll have to go to chemotherapy. And as you know, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But with our type of cancer, it really doesn't work. So, but there is a trial going on. So I'm very hopeful that they'll get some good results, and I'll be able to take that next.
And if you feel comfortable sharing, could you describe any complications or side effects that you might have felt following the different types of treatments that you received?
Wow, side effects. Honestly, I'm going to tell you, sometimes the side effects are worse than the cancer. The first treatment that I was on, I really didn't have many side effects. I was tired, of course, but that was really it. This treatment that I'm on, the very first dose that I was on was 100 milligrams, and I was seeing dragons in my bedroom, and I was hearing things and seeing things. I was depressed and anxious. Since I've been on this, I've gained 25 pounds, headaches, body aches. I have so many different things. I don't even, every symptom you could ever think of, that is what I've had. This is a very tough drug. I'm not gonna lie. It's a very tough one, but at the same time, it's saving my life. So I'm grateful for it.
So how was it like to be diagnosed and to receive treatment during COVID-19?
Okay, so this has been difficult just because, for instance, when I was diagnosed, I was in the emergency room, and I have a huge network of friends. And of course, they all wanted to come and see me in the hospital. And you're only allowed one person in the hospital. So because of my diagnosis and the doctor giving me weeks to live, there was a nurse who, I will not say names because she begged me not to. We still keep in touch, and she's been amazing. She let 10 of my friends come in. she let, at one time, then she let my daughter, my son, probably 4 or 5 of my other friends, my ex-husband and his wife, and that hospital, I have to give them a shout out. Cartersville Medical Hospital really, really did everything that they could to help me, even though we were in the middle of COVID and, everyone's still wearing masks, and they were actually coming in full gowns because they didn't want to give me any sort of germs or what have you. So that was definitely an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, being treated during COVID-19 was likely, an additional challenge on top of just going through a new diagnosis and a big diagnosis like that of lung cancer. So, and for a lot of other individuals who might have been diagnosed during that period, there could have also been delays to getting a CT scan or even getting treatment. So, there are a lot of studies that have just come out, evaluating the delays that occurred as a result of the pandemic and lung cancer screening during that time. So
that is one thing that my ALK community and I talk about all the time. Had this been caught earlier, because people were scared to go to the doctor, people were, if you had any sort of symptoms, doctors were kind of turning you away because they didn't want anyone else to get sick. So that is a big topic of discussion.
Right. And you recently mentioned that you started radiation. And so can you share with us how that has been going? I know it's only been a couple of days, but are you liking it? Are you seeing any changes? It might be too early to say, but just wanted to ask how that's been going.
Yeah, so radiation was very interesting. So I had to go in, actually, I have to send you this video, by the way. They go in and they make, a mold and a mask, and they do pinpoint radiation, as you know. And so when it came time for radiation day, the masks did not fit. So the mask didn't fit. So they were trying to, get me stuck into this mask, which was very interesting. But we got through it, and my doctor came in, saw that I was in complete agony, begged the technicians to stop, but I said, no, I want to get this over with. So it wound up being really good. And honestly, I've only had a couple of days of pure exhaustion. I'm not going to lie, the entire day yesterday, I was in bed. I could not get out of bed. It felt like my arms were so heavy. Just to try to stand up, it felt like I had a full chest weight, all the weights on my chest. It was awful. But honestly, I feel great today. I think I'm just starting to listen to my body and realize that I need rest. I can't be the superwoman I used to be.
That's great to hear. And for our next question, what advice would you give to someone newly diagnosed to ask or prepare for speaking with their primary care provider?
Great question. So this is something that I am constantly advocating. Number one, advocate for yourself, because doctors have so many patients and they can only be in so many places. You need to advocate for yourself. Make sure you're constantly writing down your symptoms, no matter what it is. You have to get the biomarker testing. So if you are diagnosed with lung cancer, get the biomarker testing, whether you're a smoker or not. That is the biggest thing, because you'll be able to find out if you have a mutation or if you don't. If you have a mutation, there's several mutations out there with different targeted therapies that will 100% help you live a longer life. Hopefully they'll come up with something for individuals who are, don't have the mutation, but specifically get the the biomarker testing, it's number one. And always, always advocate for yourself, no matter what it is. I had called my doctor and told her that I was having chest pain, and she was like, well, you know, you have lung cancer, it's probably that. Well, I decided to go to the emergency room anyway. Turns out I had a pulmonary embolism. Had they not caught it right then, there could have been a serious issue. So always, always advocate for yourself. Reach out to the community. We're all on social media. We are always there to help and listen and help you with next steps. Obviously, your doctor is your primary go-to, but reach out to people like us who are also dealing with the same thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for touching upon, both how patients can be their own advocates and also about biomarker testing, because we always get questions from patients about, is genetic testing good or the right option for me? Because I think when you do get genetic testing, then that can open up a lot more doors, and that can be a source of confusion in and of itself. And so we always get that question. But with the development of targeted therapies, as you mentioned, there are a variety of different biomarkers and genetic mutations related to lung cancer that individuals can have, like the ALK mutation or the EGFR mutation or the ROS mutation. And so there are a variety of different mutations. And now with a lot of research in this area, there have been targeted therapies that are really effective for individuals with these particular mutations. And studies have shown that survival is better when patients undergo target therapy for their particular mutation. And so, as you mentioned, I think, it never hurts to get biomarker testing and have that be an option, and to really discuss that with, the doctor to see if that's something that would be beneficial. But we always get that question. So thank you for touching upon that.
Absolutely. And even someone who has been, diagnosed with, an ALK mutation, it can mutate again. So if your targeted therapy is not working, and you've gone through a couple, I would definitely get the biomarker testing again to see if it's mutated again, because that is what we're seeing in our community a lot right now.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And so we really admire your efforts in the lung cancer community, and you recently had a viral TikTok video. So could you tell us more about this TikTok video and just in general, how you're helping to raise awareness about lung cancer through social media?
Yes, absolutely. So two of my best friends are influencers, and they influenced me to start, get on social media and tell my story. So I actually first started with Instagram, and that is actually where I met so many amazing people in the lung cancer community. I feel so blessed to really call them my friends and my family. And I started a TikTok page. And really, it was just a very simple TikTok that actually reached 4.6 million viewers. It started the conversation. And it was really just about who can get lung cancer. And 100% anyone with lungs can get lung cancer. And it started a conversation. And from there, it has grown. I've only been on TikTok a few months now. I have like 260,000 likes, and it's simply all around lung cancer awareness. So I'm doing the TikTok page and my Instagram. Instagram is mainly just for my ALK family and getting to know everyone. But actually, I've had a lot of people reach out to me that just have different cancers. One woman that I talk to on a regular basis, she has ovarian cancer. Another one has colon cancer. Another one has lung cancer, but she has the EGFR mutation. So I've had so many people reach out to me. There is a girl, her mother is dealing with EGFR lung cancer right now, and she doesn't know how to handle it. So she's reaching out to me just for advice, just, for for someone to understand what she's going through. And that's what I try to do. I talk to multiple people every single day, and I feel so thankful for my cancer community. They make everything so much better.
No, well, thank you so much, Lindsay, for your effort and your work, because it really, I think what you're doing is really, really a public service, because we've talked with patients and they say, I was just recently diagnosed, but I wasn't really able to find a support group, even though I try to connect with my local cancer center. I wasn't really able to find other lung cancer patients. And I think social media has just been so helpful in creating a nationwide, international, community of lung cancer patients and survivors, and just anyone who wants to be a part of the lung cancer community to be able to join in and support any way they can. And, it's really thanks to people like you who are taking the time to, and who are able to share and willing to share, such a personal story publicly to help others. So thank you so much for what you are doing. And just as you said, it's not just helping lung cancer patients, but also just individuals with other cancers, because I think there's definitely overlap between the treatments, experiences, just the how do you deal with such a diagnosis like that of cancer that just in general has pretty scary associations with it. And so just thank you so much for what you're doing. And we have a related question to that. So for someone who has a loved one who was recently diagnosed with lung cancer, what advice do you have for how they can best support and help that person?
So I will say, just be there for them. We have good days, we have bad days, we have days that we want to cry and scream, and there's days that we just want to go to a Braves baseball game. We just be there for them. So many people give me advice every day, and as much as I appreciate it, I just sometimes just need someone to talk to. Be there to hold their hand, go to doctor's appointments with them, even when they tell you no. I'm trying to do better at that. Everyone always asks me if they could go with me to my doctor's appointments, and I always say no. I'm trying to do better. So all I can say is just be there for them. Listen more than you speak.
And so for our last question before we move on to some of the questions we received from the public, and it's, having cancer changes so much about your life in general. What words of wisdom do you have for people post-cancer as far as being able to live a full life once more?
Honestly, you have to wake up every single morning like it's a brand new day. I wake up every single morning grateful. I tell myself I'm healed. I do the best that I can do. I wake up and take my dog for a walk. I get ready for the day. I talk to my children. I go to work. You have to keep on going. You have to know that this life is so precious, and just be so grateful for it and go out and live your life. Forget being the workaholic, forget all of the negativity. You have to stay positive every single day. And that's not even just with people with lung cancer, with everyone. I truly appreciate every single day that I have. And, I'm the happiest I've ever been, honestly. Cancer has changed me in such a way that I've never been happier. I'm living my life.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear and just so inspirational. And I think it's advice that not just for patients, but also just for, for everyone. Like we've talked with patients, and they've said, I had two choices. I could sit in the corner and, worry about what the future is going to be like, or just, it definitely takes time, but to understand that, this is something that, is going to be part of my life. And I can, I'm just gonna have to learn how how my life might change with it, and that I might not be able to do everything that I used to do in the same capacity,
Mhm.
but just be okay with that, take things slow and move forward. And definitely it's a lot easier said than done, and will definitely take some time. But yeah, I think everyone who we've been able to have on the podcast and talk with have said that, it's there's always a period of time where there's a lot of fear around the uncertainty, and maybe you go into denial, or depression, but then you have to bounce back and just keep going. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. You can only go forward. You can't worry about what might happen because you have to live for today. You have to live for every single day and make the best out of every single day. And do the things that, you never thought you would do, or you're always saving your money for this, or, maybe I'll do that in a year when I have time. We only have one life, so spend it wisely.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's great advice. And what you just said reminded me of one of the lung cancer patients that we had on our podcast before. She wanted to run a marathon, but was diagnosed with lung cancer a couple weeks or months right before that. But she was initially she went to her doctor and was like, I'm training for this marathon, I'm going to run it. And leading up to it, she realized that maybe running it might not be possible, but she still walked it, and that was, she really wanted to do that, and she was able to do that even if it didn't look like, what she might have planned it to look like. And so it's just so inspirational and motivating to hear, how people kind of bounce back from a diagnosis like that of lung cancer.
Exactly. We're all blessed. Honestly, I'm very thankful to have this mutation. But I think screening is the biggest thing. So, just continue to advocate for yourself. If you have a cough, if you have chest pain, if you have any sort of aches and pains, what have you, go to the doctor. My best friend in the world, Jess, just was telling me that everything has changed for her medically because since my diagnosis, I don't technically look sick. That's one of the biggest things that I hear all of the time. So you would never know that I'm sick. So when she heard my diagnosis, she immediately went to her doctor, had everything checked out. And I think that that is so important. We, as especially in our age group, we don't think that there's anything wrong unless we're lying on the ground. But if you have any sort of symptoms, go get checked out. I wish and hope for the future that lung cancer will have more funding, and this will be a regular thing, that lung cancer screening can be checked every single year, like a mammogram or what have you. That is my hope, and that's what I'm going to continue to advocate for.
Right, absolutely. I really hope that we were able to take the field in that direction. Just like we made a lot of progress with breast cancer and cervical cancer and colon cancer, and we see that in the screening rates. They're a lot higher, around 70%, whereas the screening rate for lung cancer, as we talked about in the beginning, is less than 6% nationwide. And it's not just 6% of the general public, but 6% of the individuals at high risk for lung cancer. And so it's really concerning that we, are not screening more people than we are, because, low dose CT screening is an evidence-based approach. It's shown to catch lung cancer early and shown to reduce mortality related to lung cancer. And when we have a low dose CT technology, but we're still not screening individuals at high risk, it just, in a way, it seems irresponsible. And so I really hope that we can educate primary care providers, we can educate healthcare providers in general, community members, that lung cancer screening exists, and so some people aren't even aware that screening exists. And I think it's a large part due to the lack of education. And if we're able to just get lung cancer screening information in front of everyone, then individuals who might know a family member or a friend or a coworker, a colleague who might be eligible for lung cancer screening can share that information with them. And so I think education plays a huge part in helping to increase the screening rate, and also, addressing stigma and these other barriers like cost and transportation that might be that might serve as barriers to getting screened. So I think there's a lot of work to do, but there's been a lot of momentum, and as you mentioned, funding is lung cancer is one of the least funded cancers, unfortunately, even though it is the deadliest cancer. And so there's a lot of groups, lobbying for more funding for lung cancer. And so hopefully we'll see some of that effort in increased funding soon.
Yes, I hope so.
Awesome. So now we will be moving on to questions we received from the public. And so our first question that we received is, what advice would you give to any lung cancer survivors who might be listening?
Oh gosh. Stay strong. And I was talking to someone today, and he was telling me, if I got lung cancer today, I think I would curl up in a ball and just stay in the corner until I died. Don't do that. Live your life. Go do all the things that you've been wanting to do. I'm going to take a trip to Italy. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it this year. My brother wants to go to Alaska. We're going to do that. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're doing it this year. So live your life. I will say, all these people tell us what we're supposed to eat and what we're not supposed to eat, but I will say eating a clean diet, that has definitely helped me with my energy levels, and drink a ton of water.
Is there anything you wish you would have known before receiving your diagnosis?
Oh gosh, wow. I wish I had a crystal ball. That would have made everything so much better. Just kidding. Actually, I really wish that the stigma around lung cancer was not what it was, because I 100% would have been able to figure this out beforehand with, my multiple bouts of pneumonia and bronchitis and being sick all the time and exhausted. Then I would have thought, well, maybe I have lung cancer. Maybe I should go check it out. But 1000%, I was not thinking this was lung cancer. So, because of the stigma around lung cancer. So I wish I would have known that you do not have to smoke to get lung cancer.
Absolutely. And so the next question asks, what are you looking forward to most in the next couple of months? And I'm not sure if you already mentioned it with your trip to Italy and Alaska, but just what are you looking forward to most in the future?
Yeah, so I'm hoping to make all these trips this year, Italy and Alaska. Oddly enough, I have a huge network of friends, and they're all so amazing. So we have a bucket list, and we're supposed to be checking off all of my bucket list items this year. So
awesome. And our last question is, how and where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so it's positively ALK. So because of the ALK mutation, and I'm very positive. So positively ALK, and that's positively ALK.
Awesome.
Both on TikTok and Instagram.
Great. Thank you for that. And thank you so much, Lindsay, for taking time out of your day to share your story with us. We appreciate all the work that you're doing to help raise awareness about lung cancer and wish you the best on your journey. And thank you to everyone for joining our podcast. Please keep an eye out for our upcoming podcasts and events, which will be listed on our website, www.alcsi.org. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Bye. Thank you.